Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Grow Your Tutoring Business. I've just surprised Elaine with a podcast recording. We thought we were just going to talk about it, and we are just going to talk about it, but we're going to record it and turn it into a podcast. Elaine, welcome.
Hiya.
Thank you so much for agreeing about 5 seconds ago to do the podcast.
That's all right. My first panic was, oh my God, my hair's a mess. Then I remembered it was a
No, you look
podcast.
great. You're going to sound great. You've got loads of great information. And it's been a bit of a couple of months actually, hasn't it? We've been
Yeah,
really busy.
yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind.
Been a bit of a whirlwind. Now, what I'd love to start with is the fact that you're called Maths with Mrs. Mac, but
Yeah.
you're not really. Well, no, that's really harsh. I suppose you're not really a maths teacher. You are. It's not how you
I
started out.
wasn't. I
You was
wasn't, no.
not. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your journey and your experience of where you started with teaching and what led you towards becoming like Maths with Mrs. Mac.
Yeah. So I originally trained as a modern languages teacher. All my A levels, my degree, everything, my PGCE was all in modern languages. In fact, my maths, I stopped maths at GCSE. I didn't go beyond GCSE because I was just indifferent to it. And then MFL was getting into some big trouble with the curriculum and it was becoming an option subject. And so MFL teachers were getting made redundant left, right, and centre. And I was a single mum at the time and I was really panicking about work. And the only option to keep my job was to start teaching some maths. So, and my deputy head said to me, well, Elaine, do you know, I said, I can't teach maths. I cannot teach maths. I can remember the conversation. And I said, the thing is, Elaine, we know you can teach and you can learn maths.
Yeah.
And so, okay, well, I'd give it a go. I had a very supportive head of department. So I started very, very small. I was part-time actually. So it was a couple of days a week teaching Key Stage 3 and a Year 10 foundation group. And I did it for a year and I enjoyed it. And I went off and I got a modern languages job. So I went back into my French and German teaching, but I had always kind of missed it in a way, the challenge of it and something new. And so the same situation came up again in another school. The language teachers were just getting made redundant. And because I didn't ever have any responsibility, I was always one of the first people to get hit for redundancy. So it happened again. So I went and went back into maths teaching again. And that time I stuck with it. I stayed in the school teaching languages and maths, and I progressed to higher GCSE. And then I decided that we got a new head of department who decided that she only wanted maths teachers who'd got maths degrees, which is a really unusual and short-sighted view, in my opinion. Unfortunately, it is unusual. So I actually went off and applied all by myself to a different school to a maths only teaching job. And despite being UPS 3, I got it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got the job. I never expected to get it mainly because there was NQTs going for it and I was just way too expensive. But I did, I got it. And I loved it and I've never looked back. And now I've taught top set GCSE now, got some of the best results a top set saw in the school I was in. And I really think it comes down to the fact that I've not found it easy myself. I think it's that I've had these same struggles that my students have had. I've taught myself in a lot of cases. And I just think it's made me and I'm not ashamed to say it. I think it's made me as good a maths teacher as those maths teachers that set out on that journey in the first place.
It fascinates me, the whole maths thing. I mean, I deal a lot with like younger children, so they're usually year 3, 4, 5, and we're often working towards like 11 plus. Sometimes, like with my passions, always SEN, I do some one-to-ones and it's always maths. And we're dealing with almost like a trauma response to it,
Yeah,
basically.
definitely.
But there's definitely something there
Yeah.
which I'm really frustrating because maths is actually going to be really nerdy about it. I find it quite fun
Mm.
and not easy because I don't find it easy, but there's often that problem solving approach and trying to find patterns with something. Actually, you take like the stress away from it. It's almost like solving a puzzle and you're putting the pieces together. And if you know the order of the pieces or the formula to use, you can find the answer. It's very much like there's no grey area with maths, which I quite like.
No, no, there's not. No, it's maths anxiety is a huge problem though. So have a lot of students that come to me with that. And Arthur and I actually, God, probably 18 months ago now, Arthur and I recorded a little webinar about maths anxiety, which was really, really interesting,
We'll
really
share the
useful.
link for that. We'll share the link for that
Yeah,
in the notes too.
yeah.
Um, so when you were first approached with the maths idea, were you taking into maths anxiety as well?
Probably, yeah.
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 So what was your relationship with maths before that? Obviously, you said like you gave it
I
up
think
at
I was just totally indifferent to it. It was just never really on my radar. I was a good girl at school. I went along to all the lessons. I did everything that was asked of me, but I didn't hate it and I didn't love it. I just thought, well, it wasn't for me. So
okay.
I stopped. When I look, my parents were incredibly encouraging of me doing languages. That was really what they wanted me to do. So I always went with the languages idea, thinking languages were the future. I think
Mm,
languages were the future, but I think perhaps language teaching wasn't the future.
mm.
So I never really considered doing anything other than maths.
But that's interesting though, because I agree. I think languages were always the future. Like when we were
Yeah.
being taught languages at school, it's like, you need to do this. And even though I would say I wasn't indifferent, I just didn't really enjoy it as much.
Mm,
I don't know why. I'm not sure why. Actually, now I really regret it. Like I really wish I'd stuck with it a little bit more.
mm.
But when you do, when you have those language skills, there are so many different avenues you could go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why didn't you pursue something different, maybe outside of teaching? What kept you within education?
Um, I think it was easy. I think at the time it was easy and I was in and it was a regular wage. And I think I held this notion that the only other thing you could do with languages was go and live abroad or teach it, which is absolutely not the case.
Mm,
And as a language teacher, when we were working hard to get students to take our subject, actually our selling point when they're all doing their options in year 9 was all the things you can do with languages. And
yeah.
I remember thinking then, I thought, God, I could have done so much more. But by
Mm,
then I was married and I had a child, and you sort of think, oh, it's too late. I mean, it's not too late. It's never too late. But
no.
yeah, I was probably just too lazy to, and also had a safe income.
Yeah, so we keep things nice and safe. I mean, look, I think
Yeah,
we all can put ourselves in that boat. Like I would have, if someone said to me, "Oh, what would you do if you could go back 20 years?" I would have started a business like straight away. Would have learned how to make
yeah,
money, monetize your skills. But what did we do? I had children. By the time I was 22, I had 3 kids. So it was about got to make sure things are safe, right? You
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've
can't
got other people depending on you. You can't just go
absolutely.
and live your dreams.
Yeah, and the risk taking falls away because you fall into a life of
Yeah,
whatever.
mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Elaine, so like we probably, I don't know when we first had a conversation around just general things tuition. It's probably about a year ago, maybe
Yeah,
longer, maybe longer. And you shared like your story and you felt like you had like more to offer, right? There was something more that you
yeah,
could like support with, and obviously that our community was growing. There's a lot of questions in the group, in our big Facebook group around like,
yeah,
oh, how do I find more clients? How do I make myself more, I suppose, profitable, but also
mm,
marketable? Like so
yeah.
people.
Yeah, see, I always, I've always felt now so relieved that I took the route I did and went into maths because and I know there's people that make a living out of language tutoring. There's a couple in the group that do brilliantly, but I know for me, having that maths string to my bow has always been my sort of safety net, really, and what I know I can, something that I know is really, really needed. And I've seen in other Facebook groups people going, "Oh, I'd love to get into tutoring, but I'm got a DT degree, or my subject is DT. How am I ever going to find clients?" And I do sometimes post and I say, actually, you can change your subject because you're already a teacher. You know what teaching is all about. You can learn the maths, and the more you teach the maths, the more you see the mistakes other students will make, and you will. It's such a steep learning curve
Mm,
that you can. And then also even primary school teachers saying, "Oh, I wish I had the confidence to teach GCSE." And that's really what it's all about. It's about having confidence. And that goes for maths learners and maths teachers. It's about having the confidence to give it a go, to push yourself outside your comfort zone, get the right tools, get help if you want it. And it's perfectly doable.
Elaine, tell us about how your tuition. business started, what was the transition from school into tutoring?
Um, well, really, I'd been getting fed up with teaching, like so many of us. There was no awful disaster. I wasn't on the floor or anything like that, like some people are. I wasn't in that sort of state. I was just totally and utterly fed up with the workload, the expectations, the box ticking, feeling like I wasn't ever valued, feeling like I was bashing my head on a ceiling, trying to get someone to notice that I was doing something good and had some good ideas. And I didn't ever think that I would be able to make a living. I was doing a little bit of tutoring on the quiet on the side, my pocket money. Didn't ever think in a million years I'd be able to make a living out of it until somebody pointed me in the direction of Sharon's Facebook group. And I watched the Pit Pony video and I just thought, wow. So within 2 weeks of watching that video, I handed in my notice because that's the sort of thing I do. I do weigh things up and I do think about things, but once I've made a decision, like that's it, I'm done. I'm going to make a go of this. So think I handed in my notice in the April, left in the July, and I just told everybody. I put everything on Facebook. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done to put myself out there, but I told everybody on Facebook what I was doing, and I was full before I'd even started. So because I had so many people local to me who wanted some tuition help, I couldn't fit them all in. So I just said, the only way I can help you is to put you into a group. And they all went, oh, okay then. And my groups got going straight away. So I was already within 2 months, I think I would matched my teaching salary. And so that was in 2022. And I've just kept building it up, making sure my groups are always full, trying desperately to get more daytime work. I've tried the international market and I actually haven't massively enjoyed it. It's not for me. My daytime work now is coming from home education and one-to-ones, not home ed groups, home ed one-to-ones. So my days are getting nice and full now as well.
Mm.
And so my last 2.5 years have really been getting my groups established, full, getting my daytimes a bit busier so that I can stop doing quite so much into the evenings, and also starting to get out there and meet other tutors, which is what I've done loads of in the last year, and I love it.
Mm.
So now I'm thinking, okay, right, because I'm always looking. I'm not very good at standing still. Sometimes my family say to me, why can't you just like, okay, you've done it, you've arrived, brilliant. And I'm like, no, what's next? What am I going to do next? Not very good at just thinking, okay, I'm here, that'll do.
So I mean, would you consider yourself that having that entrepreneurial brain like that? Because that's quite entrepreneurial, isn't it?
Didn't ever think I did have, but I think as I've got, I mean, the first 12 months was terrifying. The business side of it was terrifying. Now it doesn't bother me at all, particularly. I mean, there's still things that make me feel a bit uncomfortable. Some conversations make me feel uncomfortable. Talking about money doesn't really anymore. So
Mm.
yeah, I probably have, and I'm looking at whether I want to. So I've got two things. I'm doing my course, which I'm loving, and then thinking, do I want to start taking on other tutors? I've spoken to people about, the legalities around that. Still not sure if that's for me, but I'm thinking, what's 2025 going to bring for me? And I'm been helping other tutors, and that seems to be the thing that I'm really enjoying. That's the thing that I feel like I really want to focus on.
That's really nice. We've landed in the right space for that, without a doubt. It's really good. I think as well, Elaine, just to add to what we were saying about the entrepreneurial stuff, because I know there'll be people listening who perhaps don't consider themselves even business owners yet, and maybe like thinking, well, what do you mean by entrepreneurial thinking? And I'd like to give it a little bit of a definition. It does relate back to the pit pony, the way Sharon describes that
Mm.
sort of awakening, like
Yeah,
coming out of the shadows, and the space that you find when you have made it work. And I do kind of think this is key. Like it does go hand in hand with finding some sort of success, and that's all very personal. So I don't think I won't define success for anybody, but when you know it's working for you, your business, it gives you some sort of reassurance, and perhaps like you relax into it, and then your mind just suddenly starts
yeah,
firing
I
off.
think so. I think that's what's happened to me is I've stopped thinking the business things have stopped crowding my brain because
Mm,
that's all now kind of automatic for me. I don't have to worry about it. So yeah, now I'm thinking, well, where can we go next? What's next?
mm,
I think I think meeting other tutors and seeing what other tutors have done. She'll hate me saying this. Jane Bilham is an absolute inspiration to me. The way what she's done in the last 18 months, I kind of feel like I'm tentatively following in her footsteps.
Mm.
Because yeah, that's it's about changing your mindset as well. It's about not being afraid to put yourself out there. It's being willing to invest as well. And I know that's something you talk about a lot, but I've had two different business coaches since I left, and they were both very, very different. And I wouldn't have been without either of them. I've learned such a lot. Yeah, I spent a bit of money, but I definitely would not be where I am now without either of those two people.
I think it's critical, and I feel like I spend a lot of my time within the Facebook group, in emails, just generally with content, like with that in mind, like trying to make sure that I get the message out that it is okay to make what many might consider quite a selfish decision to spend money on yourself
Mm.
so that you can get the skills that you need, but also give the accountability that sometimes that
Yeah, that's what I'm
well.
finding at the moment. That's why I'm looking again, actually, because I'm just thinking I want to start being more active in my audience growing. But God, where do you start? And just a bit of someone to point me in the right direction and check in on me. So I have actually hooked up with somebody else in the group informally, and we're going to try and do it for each other. We're going to try and like be accountability partners.
Yeah.
But so that's what I'm going to try first. And I think I'm going to give that a good go for a couple of months. But if that's not working, I'm going to have to face facts that it's time to invest again.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is like again like a really good point to hammer home is that I've not met what I would consider a successful business owner who doesn't continually invest.
Mm.
And right up to like a really I won't name because it wouldn't be fair, but this person who is quite well known within the tuition sector runs a really large company that's it's not he's not a tutor but runs something for tutors and invests 250,000 a year in on just business coaching, 250,000. You know, and a lot of us, I'm like, I can't afford something. I go, I get it. Actually, I really get it. And this is, I remember when I was starting out and I needed that support, and it was eye-watering amounts people were quoting me, and I was thinking, I just can't do that. I need something. I need something to help me out, but I can't afford what they're offering. So free challenges, YouTube, podcasts,
Mm.
whatever it was that I could read or watch for free or get involved with that was really challenging me, which was everything, because that's what it's like when you're starting out. Like I got involved with until I could start to monetize. And then I was like, I'm going to invest in myself because I want to
Mm.
surround myself with these people who are doing the same. And I've never looked back on it and gone, that was a mistake. There's times when I've gone, I've done that too soon and I put
Yes.
under so much pressure. Oh no, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think it's
But
really good to
no.
I signed up for something. Unfortunately, it was quite low end. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but I signed up for something about 2 years ago and I've never looked at it. And I was thinking, next time, give yourself a few weeks. Don't just get like glittery syndrome or whatever it's called and go and just jump into something. Oh, that looks fun. Really
Yeah,
think about whether it's the right time for you and whether it's going to help you.
yeah, yeah, agree.
Is there
Uh,
something else? Is there something else I could be using this money for that will also help me grow my business?
Yeah, I agree. And that whole stepping up as well with that investment is really interesting. Like if so
Mm.
for example, like if we do like there's free training in the group, £20 workshops, there's a low cost membership, there's the courses that people get into, but as you go through it, it just becomes a little bit more of an investment and
Yeah,
therefore hopefully the outcome that people
yeah.
want as well, because that's essentially what you're paying for. Right up to sort of bespoke things which will be more expensive, but they're there for a specific demographic of the group rather than somebody's a new person. And I would like to think that we would act really ethically because that's what we do and have really honest conversations. Go, no, that's not for you. Start
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah, this is not where you're at.
No.
Really clear. But that's not what I found when I was looking for business support. So when I was looking at like the Tutors Who Thrive, before it was even called that, I was like, actually, I want to set it up in this way and then bring people on board who are similar, which is what's been happening over the last sort of 6 months in particular,
Mhm.
which is where your course came from. So we started talking about this
Mm.
remember, it must be nearly a year ago.
It is. It was around the time of the. It was just before the tutors conference last year when I had this little niggle of an idea, and I thought, I'm going to have to really push this. I'm really going to have to see if this is because it's not. It wasn't going away. It wasn't like, oh no, that was a silly idea. It was like, really, you really ought to have a little think about this. And I think it was about the same time as you said. You put a post out saying, I'm looking for anybody who'd like to collaborate and maybe work together and see with increasing our tutoring offerings. And I thought, okay, let's just drop a quick message, and it just went whoosh, didn't it? Then
Yeah, they did. I think when it's the right person with the right idea, I don't think we should slow it down. It's like you do
no,
the initial conversation and then push into what it actually is. And so it went live. The course went live, which is there to support someone like yourself who transitioned away from a different subject into maths,
mm,
and the idea was to support others to do the same. It's like, look, add another feather to your cap
yeah,
in your business. Like it doesn't have to all be, if you're a primary school teacher, for example, it doesn't always have to be just your key stage two SATs or 11.
no. And I've just felt for these primary school teachers who are getting these kids through their SATs and then having to wave them goodbye when they've
Mm,
done all that work building up relationships with the families. They've got to go and send them off to somebody else. So we've got a lovely mixture. We've got a lot of primary school teachers in the course, and we've got science teachers as well who've never taught any maths or have taught a bit of maths, but feel like they really want a bit of security to know that they're doing it right.
mm.
And then I think we've got someone who's got, I can't remember, but I think totally different subject, nowhere near. So it's a really nice mixed bag of people. We've only had one session, but I loved it and I really enjoyed it. And I think the people that joined live certainly seem to get a lot out of it from the messages in the Facebook group.
I also think that when you're doing it and you're in a community, this is why I put the community at the heart. When you're doing it as a community, there's an element of safety in there as well. Like
Mm,
you're all in the same boat. Some people will get this stuff really easy, but they just need you to show them, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm
yeah,
now, and that just because you know something doesn't mean you can teach it. So to have this support along the way is really it's priceless, absolutely
yeah,
priceless. And then at the end, being able to offer that support for your potential clients that opens up to a core subject, I think
mm.
is just amazing. Which is why when we had the first conversation, I was like, yeah, this is a go. We just need to be really clear about what we're offering and how we're going to offer it, which you did all the work for. So hats off to you. It's a really solid, covers everything that you need to cover.
It's
Um,
changed quite a bit. It's
I
the
did.
the initial outline. I changed it quite quickly once I got lots of people coming into the webinar and sort of seeing what the need was. So yeah, it's like constantly evolving. And I'm
Yeah.
only actually making sure, although I've got an overall plan, I'm only planning one session at a time because I'm waiting for that, like the Thursday night session. Okay, right. So where are we going next? Because they're definitely tweaking it as we go. It's
Yeah.
adapting. Yeah, don't stick to the lesson plan, as they say.
Yeah, well, you need to adapt to what's in front of you.
Yeah.
From a from a gratitude point of view, I'm really grateful that you did reach out because I know you're going to do a great job for these people. Right, so Elaine, tell us a little bit about the what next because, like you've already said, this entrepreneurial brain, we don't like standing still. Like you've done one session in the course, but you're already thinking beyond.
Yeah.
But there's also like your tuition business as well, and that we always have these decisions to make. And one of the downsides of having these kind of thoughts is that you end up with so many ideas. How do you choose? How do you prioritize? What's your big aim for the next year or so?
My big aim for the next year or so is I think my priority, I would say, is to grow this thing, and also I want to be able to support tutors into higher because I know the next question once they've done this course, which is really based around it's foundation content, but it's not just content. It is all the teaching strategies, the resources, but I'm doing it from a view from you. I'm using the foundation content to show these tutors how to tutor maths. So the next thing is the higher content, which they would need a bit more help with. It's quite hard to teach yourself higher GCSE maths. I know I had a lot of help from my head of department when I was doing it. So that's something I want to do next. When this one's finished, I want to do that. Also thinking because I had so many people that wanted to join, but either it wasn't the right time for them or they wanted to do it live, but for whatever reason they couldn't. Do I start thinking about selling it as a pre-recorded course so everyone can access it in their own time? But at the same time, making sure that I don't neglect my tutoring business. That's my big concern. So
Mm.
I've had to actually, it's funny you should say that because I've actually just decided and made this really difficult decision of stop teaching A level,
Okay.
which was also an itch I felt I had to scratch a couple of years ago. And I did a wonderful course last year with Rita Farrell, who supports tutors into A level tuition, and it was fantastic. And I've taught some A level this year, but I've just been absolutely overwhelmed by work, like having no life because the A level tutoring, because I'm fairly new to it, and A level is just a whole different ball game. It's just taking me hours to plan one lesson,
Mm.
and I was starting to not enjoy it.
Mm.
So I'm stepping back from that, maybe not necessarily forever, but just while I'm trying to build up this course. Um, because I just can't, you can't do everything, can you? You just have to look after yourself to a certain extent as well.
Oh, yeah, and you need to really listen to yourself.
Mm,
Like you know if you've got those feelings that it's just really hard work or you're not enjoying it. And when you start going down that path, there's only a matter of time
yeah,
before
yeah,
not horrible, but something potentially horrible could lurk around the
yeah.
corner.
So been planning and launching my course. I'm thinking about what's coming next. I'm thinking about taking on other tutors. I'm trying to do my A level and I'm still running a pretty much full on 20, 25 hours a week tuition business. I think
Wow.
something's going to have to give here.
Yeah.
Something's going to have to give.
Yeah. So plans in place to reduce some of the teaching,
Yeah.
increase on other parts, but maybe not an increase. It's more of a leverage of time. We talk about this a
Yeah.
lot, don't we? Actually, your
Yeah.
groups
Yeah.
are a great leverage of time. The courses are a great leverage of time. I mean, again, like coming into like this world, like as long as you get the outcome and you're focused on the value you're giving, it will always be a good return.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
about
more,
not. It's about because it's also very easy to panic about money. I'm getting much better at that, but in the first year, and I know lots of new tutors are like this. You just take on everything you can because you're just terrified that that money's going to stop coming in. That's just part of the transition from being an employed teacher to suddenly having to wonder how much money is coming in next month. So you kind of take on everything, and it's actually, and then you suddenly realize how much money you could make. If I tutored all weekend and every night, I could actually earn a considerable sum of money, which would be wonderful. But you sort of think, well, what are you paying? What's the trade off for that? Like no life at all. But it's easy to get. Well, this is just me. Maybe I find it's easy to get greedy and think, oh yeah, get me another hour a week teaching. And I think, well, you don't need to increase your income anymore. What you need is time
mm, and
and
you,
finding that balance sometimes. Still have to give myself a good talking to sometimes.
that's such an interesting transition. And actually, what you're talking about is transitioning from somebody who is tutoring to somebody who's becoming a business owner. And that's the transition. And I years ago, 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer ago than that now, I joined a business mastermind, and I can remember I was barely making money. This is when I was like, I know this is the right thing, but I've made a mistake. It's too much. I wasn't earning the money to pay for it. I remember the guy, the main business coach there, saying that it's time versus money. Either
Mm,
you are having to invest your time so you can make money, or you invest your money so you can save yourself time.
mm,
And this is all personal, but you work it out yourself, like when's the right time to do
yeah.
it. So for example, we have a VA now at Tutors Who Thrive because that really helps with
Mm,
organization because I'm rubbish at it. But it also means I can delegate a few tasks. We have a small team that moderate the group because I couldn't moderate it all on my own because it was
no,
just a full-time job.
mm,
So you can give stuff away. I find that really difficult.
mm. I've
Yeah.
not done that. I did actually a couple of years ago have someone help me write my Facebook posts, and I didn't like it. I just didn't. She wasn't writing it as if she was me. So, well, I ditched the idea and do it. I am doing everything myself at the
Yeah.
moment.
But you can like so I'll tell you what I do now as a tip for people is I did this a little while ago. I wrote down the things that I really love doing. And part of it was social media because actually social media is really easy to get rid of because there are so many
Mm,
experts out there now. And it won't cost you if your business is at a good level of income,
mm,
it won't cost you an arm and a leg to outsource it to make sure you're consistent and it'll
mm.
pay for itself with regular leads if it's done right. But I actually really enjoy that part.
Oh,
There's
I
the
don't.
Do you not? See, I actually
No.
like it. I like the idea of like thinking about where the posts fit and then writing them. I lean into ChatGPT a lot now with a lot of
Mm,
the content I've already done that's mine. I just feed it in and then get the text from it and then come up with images. So I don't mind that bit. But the things that I really find difficult of anything to do with finances, I'm so unorganized that it becomes this big mess that needs sorting out, and then I have to spend hours doing it. And because I hate it, it's that thing I procrastinate about the most. So that's not completely outsourced, but enough of it so it's
that's
not.
the stuff I love. That's the bit
You
I
love
love.
that bit.
The
Oh,
admin, the finance, the organization. That's the bit I love. It's the social media. That if I'm going to procrastinate, it'll be, oh, I need to put some Facebook posts up.
right.
That's what I will put off.
So you have this list, right, that you write and you go, right, I don't mind doing that. But
Mm,
this stuff I hate, or I
mm,
know this is stuff I procrastinate over. That's where you find your support. And we need to come up with our own. And then you go and find the VA or the tech VA, or perhaps it's not, it's a PA, perhaps it's even like with social media and stuff. I've used my elder daughters a lot
mm,
and editing posts or coming up with ideas because they know that world better than what I do.
mm.
So I just lean into them and pay, and I do pay them like so. That it was just quite a nice thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder how that will change over the next year to 18 months as well. Like, because as your business grows, as your support for other tutors grow, so will the demands on admin and all those other things to
Um,
keep it ticking over. Like, what does it look like in a year's time? Maybe we don't know the answer to that yet, which is okay. Yeah. Okay, Elaine, I am going to wrap it up there. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that we need to talk about and we'd like to share?
no, don't think so. No.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. One thing is I'm going to end with is that I'm really grateful that you came into the Tutors Who Thrive world.
Oh, thanks.
It's a pleasure to work with people who have similar ethics, similar values that we can use and share within the community. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
Welcome.